Welcome back, everybody. I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
Drugs, guys. Coming back to you from a loss, another one. Another ranked team, ranked opponent. Back-to-back weeks where we probably should have won. Jimmy.
I really don't know what to say. I talked to a lot of people between last night and today, and man, I'm just tired of talking about it, honestly. I mean, we're running out of ways to lose games. We're losing games in ways that I didn't know existed. I mean, when you're up and you have a special teams group that is terrible, I don't care if you punt the ball 25 yards, punt the ball out of bounds.
Yep.
And you have two different punters and they both suck, I guess. Punt the ball out of bounds.
Does our other punter suck? Does he even play?
They both played.
But is he the one who punted at 7 yards?
Yes, and so we brought Cerny in because he's, I guess, better. Punt the ball not to their best playmaker.
Well,
And then they punt it to him, and obviously, and Mel Tucker said it, they knew our special teams were so terrible that we were going to F up at some time, and at some point. And so they disguised that, they did it so that all their blockers went to one return guy, and they had the guy on the other side of the field return it. Punt the ball out of bounds.
well, is that the reason why it happened, or did he not?
Can we not?
Did he not punt it to the right side of the field?
Well, and that too. Can we not hire? See?
Yeah.
We have others that agree. Can we not hire someone to be a special teams coach, coordinator? I mean,
that's got to be Trev Albert's number one thing he says to Frost is you're hiring somebody.
and you're firing the offensive line coach, and you're hiring a new offensive line coach, and you're also hiring a special teams coach, coordinator, whatever. Even if it's two people, I don't care how much you have to pay them.
Yeah.
Cut your salary a little bit and pay someone because they've lost. We should be 5-0 or 4-1, and it's just disgusting.
And it's all, and like Jason here said, it's the same thing. It's the same thing over and over again. It's this year, special teams, offensive line. Special teams, offensive line. Special teams, offensive line. We're a broken record, and at this point, it's annoying because we know the talent is there, and why?
I just got off the phone with someone that I talked to for an hour, and they were just like, the defense is so good. Eric Jenander has really turned it around. And Adrian Martinez is really good. Yes, that fumble that he had was a very inopportune time and very bad. And the interception in overtime, take it for what it is. We suck in overtime. Why are we playing for overtime?
Yeah.
Because we were always terrible in overtime. But offensive line and special teams is why we're 2-3 instead of 4-1 or 5-0.
Yeah, and we're way too conservative once we got the lead again on defense as well. We started giving them way too much space. It didn't end up hurting us because that's not why we lost. But at the same time, we went too conservative. We didn't use our timeouts at the end of the game.
That's what I mean.
You got two timeouts. Use them and drop something. Try to go deep to Manning, deep to Toure. I mean, I feel like those guys, they had some catches, but we didn't try to go deep on them.
We had like 8, 9, 10 guys catch passes yesterday. I don't know what the numbers were, but there was a buddy of mine that was watching the game with me over here, and we're talking like, man, all these guys are catching passes. I still hate first down runs up the middle for a yard or two every time.
Yeah.
I don't know what needs to change there, whether it's play calling or
Offensive line. We don't create holes. We talked about this before. Offensive line, not only can they not make holes, when they do, a lot of times the running backs don't see them, don't hit them.
And you've said that before, and I've never really thought about it. And then, obviously, Ramir Johnson now is the feature back. Stepp came in for a little bit.
Yeah.
Morrison came in, and he caught a pass or two here and there. And he ran the ball. He got a couple first downs on third down, whatever. But at one particular play, he ran right at our offensive line, ran into them, and then fell down. And it was like a 1 or 2 yard gain. And there was a little hole there, and there was a little hole there. And I'm like, man, I know what Matt's talking about now.
But again, it's still pretty rare when our offensive line opens up a big hole. It's also very rare when our offensive line gets to that next level of blocking. The great teams that you're going to see in college football, even the pretty darn good teams in college football, for one, you're not having the false starts. Again, on one drive, we had 2 false starts on the same play.
First,
we did it last week
before
too.
we even ran an offensive play, we had 2 false starts.
Again, so we're making the same mistakes over and over again. But our offensive line is not getting to that second level of blocking, which is not allowing us to get those big breakout runs that we have good running backs for the most part. But if they don't have holes, where are you going to go? Any running back in the country has to rely on their offensive line. Our running backs cannot. And another person who cannot rely on an offensive line is Adrian Martinez.
Right.
Again, I said it last week, he is the best quarterback in the Big Ten for one reason and one reason only. He does not have an offensive line yet. He still has over almost 300 yards by himself in a game between passing and running
400
because he has to scramble and get out of the pocket.
You said it when you texted me when he ran the touchdown in. Great play call. You had Chancellor Brewerton, motion, come in, cut block. You had Turner Corcoran come in and cut block the corner, and Adrian was free.
They blocked,
and that was great. And it's like, that was great. Loved it. They scored a touchdown, put us in position to win the game.
Yeah.
Why can't we see more of that type of thing? It's
Blake,
just really hard to understand what is going on.
Blake says we can all agree that no one likes kickers. I agree. Although it was great, I will say seeing Connor Culp smile because he made a couple field goals finally. And I
he made 2 field goals. He made a field goal and was smiling silence. I'm like,
he needed that confidence boost.
You got a girl in the stands or what? Really, smiling at, bro?
Hey, he needed it though. I mean,
he did, and that's fine. That's fine.
And you got to remember, he's still a teenager. Now the pro guys out there smiling. It's like, all right, man, come on, who's in the stands today? But no, I was happy for Connor Culp. He made a couple field goals. Jason mentioned, Frost kind of threw it back on the players. I think.
No, and
I
did have someone call me this morning, and they said, "Who did?" Oh no, I had someone text me this morning, Kyle, and he said, "Who did Frost call out?" And I'm gonna be 100% completely honest with you. I have not been on Twitter or Facebook since the game ended. Maybe a little bit on Facebook, but not looking at anything about the game because I did not want to know anything about the game. I was so fucking pissed. I have not read anything, so I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know he was mad. I saw him chewing out offensive linemen on the sidelines. I know Thomas got pulled out of the game after he had that sack where he picked and body slammed the quarterback. And he came back in later and made a great play, and I'm like, man, that sucks because you made a bonehead play and then you're out half the game. But that I have heard that they are disciplining these players, maybe not the offensive line because we don't have anybody come in and take their place, but we have guys coming in to replace these guys when they make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good start.
Yeah.
But it's hard, man.
And here's the hard thing as a fan too. And anybody that's played any sort of organized sports, as an athlete, you take responsibility on your own actions. The coach is not coaching them to have false starts. I mean, that is not on Austin. That's on the players. And a lot of what we see again when Frost is calling out players doing this. Some of it you got to understand because some of the mistakes we're making are on the player. It's the execution, it's the way we run the play, not necessarily the play call. I think play calling was really good. We ran the option a lot.
Yep.
We had some really good short passes, so we weren't trying to do too
Austin
much.
Allen, Travis Vogelbach, they caught a lot of passes, more than our tight ends have caught in years.
Yeah, so I thought the game plan was fine. It was the execution. So it goes both ways. Like, yes, it's coaches, but it's also the players. The players that are out there doing the false start, that's not on Austin. What I'm mad about Austin is just that the same developmental problems every game with the same group of guys that get the chance every week that are making these same mistakes, the same penalties. It's like, where's the accountability? And people on this show have talked about it. Where's the
And
accountability?
we've had 10 comments since we've talked about this, and we haven't even read them. So, let's open it up and see what people are saying.
And again, so yeah, it's, is there a division on the team?
It is now a Greg Austin problem. I have said this, we've talked about it a little bit, and it's hard to single out a coach or a player or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of the first things I've said is, when Trev took over as athletic director, and he came in and backed Frost, he said, I didn't come here to fire Frost. He came in here to put a word in Frost's ear that you need to make a change, and if that change is an offensive line coach or whatever it is, that's going to have to happen this year.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, but that might be the first one to go.
Yeah, and Ryan mentions Frost, he gets a free pass on his body language, and all the Pelini haters demanded he get fired for winning 9 games a season. Now, Pelini, it wasn't his body language, it was his pure language and how he talked to the media, which, again, I wasn't for getting rid of Pelini either, but
I can't disagree with Frost's body language because I'd be doing the same thing. I can't, but I'm not getting paid $5 million a year at my job, so I get that.
And we have, I think Frost now is like the record for the most games that he's lost. He's been within 8 points of winning a game. I mean, our defense, for shit's sake, our defense gave up
look at how good that defense was in that game.
7 yards in the second half.
If that defense played against any top 10 team, I mean, it was like, it circles me back to 2009 with Sue. I mean, and that's kind of hard to judge that because we had Zach Lee, and he was a lot worse than Adrian Martinez is, and we have a lot more talent on offense than we did back then. But man, it is really hard to see, to watch week in, week out, our defense be so good and just not be able to put points on the board to win the game.
And they did.
Or put points on the board to win the game and piss it away.
Yeah. I mean, our defense was lights out. I mean, again, 7 yards in the second half. 7 yards. They gained 250 yards total the entire game. You're talking about what everyone was talking about Michigan State being potentially one of the best offenses, having the best running back, the best run game in the country.
Their running back had the most yards per game in the country going into the game, and he had like 20 yards in the first half.
We held them under 100 yards total rushing. I mean, that's our defense. Again, a lot of people still question our defense. How good are they? I think they've shown through every game now, including the Illinois game, that we have one of the best defenses in the country. Now, again, country, you can say it's kind of hard to judge. We're not playing the SEC, we're not playing this and that, but we played against the Big 12. But in the Big Ten generally has one of the best defensive conglomerate in college football, and we're showing that we have the best, if not, or one of the best, if not the best defenses in the country. We're definitely top 5. And I don't think anyone can argue with that.
If you look at a lot of guys that we have on defense, they should be NFL players, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You look at guys up front like Ty Robinson, Daniels, and even back it up with, Doman. We've talked about Doman for years.
Reimer was lights out again.
Reimer's just a freaking stud.
He's a beast. He terrorizes people.
Nick Heinrich is really good.
He shows improvement every game.
And Caleb Tanner, I mean, you can go down the line, but those guys up front, freaking Ty Robinson and Daniels up front are just, they're so big and so good. And even Thomas, and he got pulled because he got that penalty, but man. And then we got the guys on the backside,
Farmer got beat deep. He lost his feet. He didn't get a good start. That was rough. He's not played as many snaps as a lot of the guys. If Newsom was in there, I bet Newsom probably would have been a little bit tough on coverage.
And that was a third down. You throw a nickel back in there instead of just a straight up corner. Cam Taylor, Newsom are great at the corners. Deontay Williams. Okay, I'll give it to that big bulldozer of a dude that caught that pass. He blew up Dismuke, blew up Deontay Williams, and I'm like, wow, those are two of our biggest hitting guys.
And they hit him hard.
And they hit him hard. He just went through him. That was pretty incredible, but
that boy was thick.
Man, the defense is so good. It just is like, and I did have someone call me this morning and they said, So what do you think that those guys? What do you think the locker room mentality is like when that defense is so good and they're, the offense maybe isn't, and like, well, it's not really necessarily Martinez or the running backs or even the skill position guys. I mean, are they getting at? Maybe they're getting at the offensive linemen, getting at the special teams for sure. I don't know.
Yeah, when Joni mentioned.
Sorry,
that,
I went off on tangent.
It's easy to be upset with Frost, but you can see he's changing the play calling too.
And he's pissed.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen plays that we haven't seen all year, and we saw it against Oklahoma too. We saw different plays last night. We saw the option multiple times that was successfully ran multiple times. So you're seeing his change in his offensive mindset. And again, at some point, those players got to hold each other accountable too, and say, hey, you're screwing up. Like, you're screwing up drives. You're screwing up momentum. We had momentum, and defense comes out, making a big stop, and then boom, we can't get it done on offense. Like, what are we doing?
Right. And that's very discouraging because, like I said, we could, and I know everyone says we could be, we should be, we legitimately should be 4-1 or 5-0.
We should be 5-0. Yeah. And Ryan, I'm not really sure your comment here. You said you love Big Red, but if the defense is that good, why not play step and try more power football? Well, our offensive line sucks. I mean, power football only gets you so far. I mean, again, we've talked about Yant, getting him in there and being a fullback. I think Step could probably even be a lead blocker too, but Yant's probably the number one guy you want him blocking.
Yeah.
We don't have an offensive line to get us that next level, and that's the problem with even trying to run the power eye. And even one more blocker, I don't know if it would help or not.
And what's tough about that too is I like those kids that are on the offensive line. I like Cam Jurgens, I like Turner Corcoran, and maybe those two are the best that are on that line. Bryce Bernhardt, I was so excited about him, and that right side of the line is not good. So I don't know. And I was talking to somebody this morning, and they were asking me about something, and I was like, because they said, I think Frost needs to go. And I said, let me spin it back at you. With the games that and he said, Pelini won 9 games every year. And I said, yeah, okay, I get it. But we get blown out, every year. Let's break it down a little bit. The 3 games we've lost this year. Illinois. I can pinpoint one reason why we lost that game. Adrian Martinez fumbled the ball before half.
It was a stupid play.
Oklahoma, we missed field goals and extra point that got taken back for 2 points. Yesterday, I guess you can pinpoint on a few different things, but Adrian's fumble, but not only that, the punt return touchdown. You can pinpoint one reason why we pretty much lost these games. And if we can clean that up and make that better, then we would be a much better team, more successful team. And that was better than we've been in the past as far as, some of these, like, how many games have we lost by freaking 1 score?
Yeah, and, Todd here says that he's happy and enthusiastic with a lot of things he's seeing, but
I agree.
Those 2 timeouts with, I think we had 30 seconds left, we didn't use them. That's puzzling to me.
It's
we were moving the ball.
Completely puzzling.
Ryan's happy with what he's seeing, both sides of the ball. Thinks no change at this point. We're hitting our stride. Again, yes and no. Like, you have to put coaches and players. We talked about Greg Austin already. We've talked about Mario in the past too. We haven't even gotten to Smothers yet, which we will here in a second. Joni wants more Husker kids instead of people from around. I disagree. We have a lot of in-state kids and a lot of in-state kids that are playing. That's not necessarily the problem right now. It's been 24 years since we won a championship. So I talked to somebody last night. I was at a wedding, and fortunately he had his phone out. We're watching football, and he was born in 1995. So he's like,
Jason, yes.
He's like, I don't really know what it's like for a Husker winning team. And I was like, I was only 11 last time we won. So even for me, it's still pretty dated. But at least I remember those championships. I remember those teams. I'm more familiar with Eric Crouch and that team in 2001, and when we lost 2001, like, I'm more familiar with that, but He was 6. He has no idea. So he's literally only known more Bo era and post Bo era. So
we're like, we won a lot of games, but then we get blown out, and then now we are in every game, but we lose by one score.
So it's different. The fan bases are a little bit different too because of your age gaps. But the ones that remember, again, we have a lot of in-state kids. A lot of in-state kids. A lot of them are playing. I don't think that's the problem. You can show them all you want from the past. We have players. We have Jay Foreman coming in. We have Jason Peter coming in. They've had who am I trying to think of? They've had a lot of guys. I mean, they've had a lot of players come in. I don't think that's the problem. I think
Scott Frost, that was a player.
I mean, you gotta have that winning culture, and we have not found. Again, we're finding ways to lose and interesting ways to lose rather than finding ways to win. And that simple switch is what's gonna, I think, change the culture. Is winning football. And we're just not finding ways to win the game, and it sucks.
And what sucks about that is, between last week and this week, that could have been a culture shift if we would have won either one of those games, both those games, whatever. That's where we need to make the change, and we didn't get it done.
Yeah, well, and Jonah, you can show people plays from the past, that's fine, but college football has changed.
And I will say,
it's hard to continue to do the same thing.
I will say there's a lot more parity in college football this year than normal.
Yeah.
We can get into that too, but definitely glad that that's happening. See you, Clemson.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just
different.
Between last week and this week, we should have turned the corner. I'm not saying that we necessarily can't or won't. But a W would have definitely been in the right direction.
Being the number 20 team ranked and potentially
on the road
after almost being the number 3 would have been a huge deal.
And when you're up by a touchdown and they haven't moved the ball, especially for 3 quarters they hadn't moved the ball, and you're up by a touchdown with less than 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
That 100% should have been a W.
Yeah. Joe, you're right. Yes, college football's changed. What we're doing ain't working. You're right. It's not working. To a degree, it's not working. You're right. So
I mean,
we
have an offense,
and no, we don't have a long ways to go.
Special
we don't.
Teams.
But one thing again, I feel like our offense is not there yet. It's just, and a big part of that is the offensive line. And I think it might have been Jason earlier, and Jason said he's not on the fire Frost gang. I don't.
Oh no, and that's why I said Jason. Yes.
Yeah, and
I liked that comment.
I don't think you can be because again, if we do that, we're not gonna be able to find a coach that's gonna come in here and change things right away. We're gonna be waiting and waiting again, and people are gonna go through the same. Hey, be patient, be patient. No, I'm not patient anymore.
Like Jason said, I mean, I get it. Swallow your pride, and maybe make some changes at the assistant coaching jobs, whatever. I'm not even sure at the end of the season that it's going to be swallowing your pride. It's going to be, if you want to keep your job, you're going to have to make some changes. And I talked to somebody on the phone, Blaine, and he said, and let me breathe for a second. He's a diehard Husker fan, and he posted a bunch of stuff about, maybe Frosted and the guy, this and that. And he said, maybe we'll hire Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien, obviously, turned Penn State around when they were in a tough spot after Paterno. And then he was the coach, GM, for the Texans, and obviously he got fired. He's the offensive coordinator for Bama right now. So, I didn't hate the idea. But let's talk about that on the road.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Something's got to change, and we just got to go. We got to get over that hump. And right now, again, the 2 biggest things we've been talking about every week: special teams, offensive line. You fix it again. You can say we fixed our field goal kicking, great, but then something else broke down, and that was already broken down. Our punting was already awful. So it's again, I feel like a broken record. We're talking about the same thing over and over and over again. Special teams, offensive line, and at some point, something's got to give. And Again, you know this happens in every sport. The coach gets fired for something. A coach gets fired for something because that's their group of players. And you can say all you want, well, why are they firing him? The players didn't do this or the players didn't do that. You say that in every sport. And I know there are people watching today probably say the same thing about their team's coaches. Like, well, it's not the coach. The guys didn't play well. Well, same situation here. Austin, maybe it's not 100%. It's not 100% him, but you're not seeing the changes. We're seeing the same.
And it's been every single week.
Same things
And
happen.
a false starts, 2 false starts before you even run a play.
Yeah.
I mean, that no one does that. No one ever does that. You could be Southern Miss or Appalachian State, and actually, so those programs aren't that bad. No one's getting 2 false starts before you even run a play.
Yeah.
And as far as special teams goes, I don't know what our special teams coach, coordinator situation is. I guess I really don't know. But we need, I don't care how much money we have to spend, hire someone that is going to be in charge of that. Because, like you just said, it can be this one week and this the other week. If it's not missing field goals, yeah, we made a couple field goals, and he made all those extra points. But then we're not punting well.
Yeah.
And you said you can blame it on the kids for that, like the guys punting. Sure, I mean, yeah, they had a couple decent punts, a couple not so decent punts, whatever. The punt return that scores a touchdown that costs us the game, that is the issue.
Yeah.
And it can't just be, well, we fixed the field goal kicking this week, and then something else happens that costs us the game. That, to me, is just inexcusable.
Yeah. And Todd here says Martinez would be better if we had the time. It's not waste from collapsed O-line. And yeah, he does. And I don't think the snap issues, I haven't really seen much this year. We had one early on, which Martinez started moving before the snap, so a little high into the right, but I haven't really seen Juergens being a problem this year. But overall, yes, Martinez is already a fantastic player with a collapsed O-line. He got away from it. What was that? How far did he run yesterday when he almost got sacked twice? Another 40 yards or something? Like, no other.
It was incredible.
There's no other quarterback.
There was like maybe 3 quarterbacks in college football that would have been able to do that. And
maybe in the history, Taylor Martinez and Eric Crouch and Adrian Martinez. Those are the only 3 that can do that. There's nobody else in college football. If you can name any other quarterbacks in college, Mike Vick, maybe, and maybe Johnny Manziel, but they're not getting away from those sacks.
It does make you think. Like,
it's crazy.
Does he look that good because he can do that? Or how good would he look if he had Alabama's offensive line?
Man, that's
scary. If he went to Alabama, like how good would he look?
It's scary to think.
Like,
scary.
could he be like a Mac Jones in the NFL? Like someone that no one really even thought of?
It'd be absolutely ridiculous is what it could be.
I don't know.
And again, I don't want him to be that good because he has to scramble. I want him to be that good because he can make that decision when he has to.
Well, and
right now, he's not making decisions. His decisions are dictated by his crappy offensive line.
And, when he throws these short passes to tight ends or short passes to Manning and Betts and those guys, I mean, that looks good. And then, he throws a deep one to Torrey or something.
He had a couple
But then, he runs to his left and kind of hesitates, and maybe he was getting more pressure because, like you said, maybe the offensive line, it just is not that good, and he's got to, do what he can. But then he holds the ball, and then he fumbles. And they get a field goal, and that could be the difference in the game.
Yeah, but
that's really hard to digest.
And then that mistake is going to go back on him. Everyone says, "Oh, it's Martinez's fault." But again,
I was pissed about him at the time.
And that was a bad mistake. It
was a mistake. It was definitely a mistake.
The interception, the guy jumped the route. I don't think it was a good play call. I don't think we needed to do that play at that point in time. But again, hindsight's 20/20. You look at the entire game. We should have been winning by 2 scores the entire game, easy.
Well, I mean, when we get to overtime, there's so much more pressure on it, and the first down and second down play calls that we had seemed like we were in 4-down territory. So when it's 3rd and 3, and I'm watching the game with Kyle, and we're like, pass. Because they're thinking that it's going to be a designed Adrian fake run, and they're going to bottle him up. Pass. And then we pass, but pass right to the other guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was not a recipe for success.
Well, and Ryan asked, about attracting a quality coach, kind of like a diamond in the rough. Like, you can say Matt Campbell, sure. They lost to Baylor yesterday. kind of tough. I'm not sure how much Matt Campbell has left at Iowa State, but not saying he's going to get fired soon, but I think they kind of could have been a one-hit wonder, if you will.
Yeah,
Kind of like in Indiana. Indiana's not going anywhere, but
he might have been fire up the hop, and he might be cooling down a little bit.
It's harder to attract those kind of coaches at this point, yeah, because we don't have that team that's winning, and the fan base. We put a lot of pressure on the coaches and the players, and that pressure again. They may not hear all that outside noise, but our media sucks too. And there's an article I read today, and it said. It basically was saying the defense didn't get a turnover, which could help us win the game. It's like the defense gave up one third down conversion, no fourth down conversions, and the article literally talked about the defense. The defense played well, but they didn't get a turnover, which could have won the game. It's like, is that a real media? Is that guy's really in the media? He really writes for Husker Max. I think it's Evan Bland. And you're gonna call out our defense? And typically I like Evan, but that was like a SIP article. And SIP had another article about firing Frost. It's like your media. You are flaming. You are just putting fire to the flame. You are really just enraging everybody because you suck.
And say what you want, but
man,
that Illinois game to start the season was 100% more pressurized than it should have been.
Yeah.
Probably because of local media.
Yeah.
And national media a little bit, but I get it. These guys have a job, and if they don't do it, somebody else will. Yeah. So, I get it. But, come on, man. If you have not seen the progress that this defense has made, people were calling for Chenander's head halfway through the season.
After the first season.
Halfway through the first season.
Yeah.
Halfway through the second season. Defense is amazing.
The black shirts have shown up this year, that's for sure.
Man.
Joni mentioned, we talk about the same thing over and over again. Why don't coaches see it? I think they do, and I think they're trying to make those changes. But and I do think they care. I don't think there's a problem with them caring because they make a lot of money. I don't think that's it. I think.
And they're not going to listen to fans just saying, run this play instead of doing that, or do this instead of that. They don't care.
They're probably not even on social media looking at what we're saying, but I think they're got to be in the film room watching that. And again, Trev Albert's coming in. I think is going to be someone who's actually going to watch the program more closely. Bill Moose was never there. Bill Moose didn't care. Bill Moose is a guy that took his money and all he cared about. He basically wanted to take credit for I'm bringing in Frost, I'm bringing in Will Bolt, I'm bringing in basketball coach Hoiberg. I'm gonna bring these three coaches in, and then I'm gonna go spend time on my ranch in Montana. He gets credit for that, right?
Right,
but that's not him.
You can't hit him for it because he brought in some good coaches. I'm not gonna lie, but
he
brought him in and didn't do anything after that.
A lot of that's not him though. A lot of that's our boosters. Boosters at a university like Nebraska control a lot of that too, because that's where the money comes from. So, but again, yes. But I think the coaches care tremendously. I think they care more about these kids than probably anybody because they spend as much time, if not more, than anybody else in their lives right now. For those 4 years, so they care. They put in the time. They do, and so they're just as frustrated as the fans are. They're in the film room. They're trying to make these changes, but at some point you gotta say, hey, we're doing this in film room, we're doing this in practice, and then you don't go and execute it. But the coaches always take the fall. It's so easy to blame the coach that makes $5 million a year.
Well, and let's take a step back for a minute. I'm not trying to single anyone out or hate on anyone, but Lubick, we bring him in as offensive coordinator, right? How good have we been on offense since we got him?
Well, originally he was supposed to be a wide receivers coach is what I thought. Then I was told he was the offense coordinator, but then after game 1 and we were told that Frost was calling plays, it's like, so is he just the wide receivers coach? I don't even know. I have no idea.
And
is he listed as an OC?
Yeah, I think so. And they're showing up in the booth, and how many times?
What's up, Ross?
Hey, Ross. How many times have we, on first down, handed the ball off up the middle for no gain, 1 yard or 2 yards?
Yeah.
10,000 times this season.
Yeah.
How can you not do something different?
Yeah.
And
that's what Kyle has said here. He said, run the ball up the middle, it does us 0 good. It's a waste of a down.
It's a waste of a down.
because we know our guys can't. We know we're not going to get the hole.
And I love Ramir Johnson, and I'm not saying that he's not fast, shifty. In fact, I'm saying he is fast, shifty, and he can make a play, get yards, get a first down. First down, and it goes back to the offensive line too. But if you know that isn't gonna work, do something different.
Give us the option on first down over and over.
Do an option. I don't care if Martinez keeps it for 2 yards. That's better than just handing the ball off for nothing. You have an opportunity to pitch it and get 7 yards, or have Martinez keep it and get 5+. It's very, like, even people that know nothing about football that are at my house last night watching the game are like, so why do we hand the ball off every first down for nothing? Jimmy, what do you know about that? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? I don't know.
No idea. And Jason and Kyle both, talking a little bit about Martinez here, throwing the ball away instead of taking sacks has been mentioned a couple times today, and then missing some open receivers, like not throwing to the open receivers. So a couple different things there. So when it comes to throwing the ball away, I agree.
100% agree.
I think there's times when he doesn't because of where he's at on the field, and either he thinks he's not going to get it back to the line of scrimmage, or there's no receiver in the area. So that decision making, that's something you can coach in film. That is something you can coach, that the quarterback coach should be in his ear saying, this is what you should have done on this play. This is what happens here. This is why this didn't work. And this is this. And I don't think he's getting that. I don't think he has that. Again, why is Scott Frost not like a mentor to him? Again, Scott Frost didn't have to throw the ball away ever because he was never throwing the ball. He was always running it. But that's tough. And then missing those open receivers when they're wide open and not throwing it to them. We did see that a couple times. I'm not a quarterback. Never played quarterback in my life except for backyard football. I was really good, but when you're talking about an offensive line, you're talking about the defenses. It could be not the guy's wide open now, but if I throw it now, maybe there's another guy there. I don't know what's going through his mind there, so I don't have a good answer for that. But I agree. We got some guys open and we don't throw it to them.
I've been a firm believer of why doesn't Adrian throw the ball away? He needs to be coached to throw the ball away. He will run out of bounds and take a 2-yard loss instead of throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
And you can throw the ball away and not be penalized for it.
Yeah.
And he'll take a 2-yard loss to do it. And there's been times where a lot of times where he'll take a sack instead of throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. So I completely agree with you on that. I don't know, like you said, that's definitely coaching.
Yeah.
We gotta fix that.
Yeah.
That's really discouraging.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Todd mentions too about the defensive captains, and then I think the defensive group, their bond is something that maybe has never been as strong in Nebraska as it is now, as an entire defensive unit.
And that's probably because you got 6-year seniors.
But that's also Chin's. I think he is.
Yeah.
He's a player's coach, and I think he has grown into this Big Ten defensive role, and he's made more change than any coach in the Nebraska system right now. And it's been fun to watch the changes, but
it was a struggle. It was hard to get through, but
it took a couple
it
years.
paid dividends, man.
Yeah.
It's paying off now, and we don't see that on the other side.
If we can get our offensive unit to bond like that, and our offensive captains, again, I don't question Adrian Martinez and his ability to
He's been
lead.
so much better this year than he has been in the past.
I guarantee he is in the ear hole of the offensive lineman. I guarantee you he's the guy in the film room getting upset. I guarantee that. There's no way
You saw him on the sidelines during the game. He was yelling at somebody or getting in somebody's face about something.
We don't have that.
They got a field goal instead of a touchdown, and they should have gotten a touchdown, man.
We don't have that same bond in the offensive unit, and that's missing. And that's something that's where, and maybe you point to culture there. Maybe that's part of that growing culture. Defensive culture is a lot different than the offensive culture right now because the defense is having so much success.
The defensive culture is Nebraska football.
Yeah. And they're having so much success, so that's...
Can we have Garrett Nelson for like 15 years?
Oh my God, please. That guy balls out. He's still he was our favorite when he came in. He's still one of our favorites.
He struggled for a little bit when he was in his head, and he was hesitant, but now...
He's incredible.
He's all over the place.
We have true black shirts on that defense that have that mentality, and we don't have it on offense. We don't have that offensive mentality, and I don't know. Hopefully we get it. We need it. Ryan mentions the option's great, but Adrian has some questionable long pitches. There's a couple times where he pitched the ball yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
So,
But they ended up working out for us. But wow, like the timing is a little off. I do agree with that, Ryan. There's times when
I agree
the timing
there.
is off.
I hate the short side option, which we didn't do a ton of, but
No.
I hate that. When he pitched it to Manning, I think Manning was hurt. I think Manning is hurt,
Yeah.
and thank God we got the ball back on that one, even though talk about the way that game ended anyway.
Yeah.
When they reviewed the pitch, whether it was forward or not, we were talking about it. We're like, how many of those pitches that Tom Frazier had back in the day
Yeah.
would have been reviewed?
Yeah.
Called
True.
back?
True. Oh my. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Good thing they didn't have review back then.
Unbelievable.
But it's kind of annoying.
Manning's made a class. Man, I think
I love the kid.
it sucks because I think he wants to do so much, and then
he has so much talent. He's got.
That's funny, Blake.
He's got some mental issues. Some, there's some stuff going on in his head.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, when he's out there and balling out, he can ball out.
Yeah. So Ross mentions here that after watching the game, he thinks we go 7-5 this year. Insider said that locker room captains lost their shit in East Lansing. He's confident in saying to watch out. You know, and I thought that Oklahoma game was such a big stepping stone for our team, even though we lost, that there was so much momentum coming into this week and playing another team inside the top 20. I mean, that was a huge deal for us. And I thought that game last week gave us that momentum. And you saw some of that. You definitely saw it from the defense. Our defense was even better against Michigan State than they were against Oklahoma, and that was hard to do because they played really well against Oklahoma. And so, again, those third down conversions, 1 for 10. 0 for 1 on fourth down. I mean, when was the last time our defense was 1 for 10 in third down conversions?
9 for 10, essentially.
Oh, getting 9 for 10, only allowing 1 third down. I have no idea. I bet you have to go years back. Years back. So that, I mean, again, against one of what they're saying the best offenses with the best running back.
Not that, but our third down efficiency percentage-wise on offense was better than it normally is. So
that's because we didn't have 3rd and 7. We had 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. Again, those 3-4 yards, those make a difference.
If you're a big Husker fan, don't look at the stats because you're going to be like me.
Oh,
and you're just going to be so pissed.
It's sad. If you were just looking at stats and not score, besides the turnover margin, it's 2-1. But if you're just looking at the stats, you're like, wow, Nebraska probably destroyed them. They allowed 249 yards of offense.
If you're watching the show, you're going to, like, I don't know how we've gone 45 minutes because last night I did not want to say a fucking word about the game.
Yeah.
I did not want to talk about the game. And I don't know how I've talked about the game for 45 minutes.
Mark says wide receiver room lacks leadership too.
Levi Falk was great yesterday.
Falk was awesome. And we talked about it last week, how people are like, Levi doesn't need to be on the field.
I was
so when you make
he's like, people on Twitter really just don't want me
to
be good.
They don't want me to be on the field. Yeah.
They don't want me to be good.
But Levi played well, and I think, I don't know about that leadership in the wide receiver room, but something's not there. I don't know.
Manny and Betts are. Toure is great, and obviously everyone knows that he's been pretty good, so he's getting a lot of attention as far as defenses. So we can't throw the ball to him every time.
No.
Betts and Manning are good.
Betts played well again yesterday. Had a couple really good catches.
That catch Vogelak had was a top 10 in my mind. That was a great catch.
So like you said, as a unit, we got some guys with talent. We got guys that can go out and perform. The raw talent's there, but where's the leadership? And that's, again, I think it's not just the wide receivers, Ryan. I think it's the entire unit as a whole. The offensive unit. It starts with your quarterback being that captain. I think we have that. Our offensive line, again, I don't know where the leadership was on the line. Is Juergens a good leader? I have no idea. Because if I was him,
needs to start being
and
maybe he is, and they just can't figure it out. I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but again, get other guys in there that are gonna listen because that's not working for us right now. But that overall unit needs to be unified, not just the wide receivers, not just the tight ends. Because again, that raw talent's there. But what are we doing to unify the entire unit as a whole? And I don't know. I got the answer. I'm not in the locker room.
Well,
I hope that rumor, that information from Ross is true about the defense getting up in the business in East Lansing and causing a ruckus. I really hope it's true.
If I'm JoJo Doman, if Damian Daniels, Ty Robinson, Luke Reimer, even, who was a walk-on during scholarship. All those guys, I'm getting in the face of some of those other players. And we've talked about it. I've talked about it with other people. We have so much talent, especially, defensive side of the ball aside. On the offense, why can't we make it click?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this guy will be good on this day, but then he's nowhere the next game. Can we get clicking? Like on all cylinders for one game or for multiple games? Adrian has been clicking more than he has been in recent past. Yes, he had 2 turnovers yesterday, whatever. He's been better than he normally is. The running game, offensive line side, skill position players are better than we've had in years.
Yeah.
And we cannot get it together. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know why we can't.
Yeah, and Adrian's that glue on the team, but the glue's not sticking because he's got to carry the team. Not only is he the glue, but he's also the one carrying everybody on that team, and he's trying to carry them on
He can run for 2 touchdowns, and he can try to run for a 3rd and 3 first down, but he can't do everything, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Ross said he's telling his buddies wait for something stupid to happen on special teams, and then it happens, and it's.
Don't even want to talk about
But we've talked about it before, Jimmy. It's fundamentals. It is very simple details and fundamentals to the game that you learn when you're a teenager. Like you learn when you're in 6th, 7th grade. If you're playing football at that point, tackle football, you learn these things at that age on what's good, what's bad, and what is the proper way to do it. And then in college, for some reason, you're not seeing that proper way coming to life.
So I'm not a college football genius by any means. I watch a lot of college football. I love college football, and it's because of Nebraska, and I grew up on Nebraska football. And I watch a lot of college football, and I'll see teams, and I'll even see top 5, 10 teams. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say about the game, and this is the one thing I think that cost us the game yesterday. There's 4 minutes left in the game, and you're up by a touchdown against a team that cannot move the ball. Punt the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
I don't care where it is. Punt the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
How can we not? How can you not really figure that out or understand that?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell this kid? I don't care if you kick the ball 30 yards.
Yeah.
Kick it out.
Yeah. Kick it out of bounds.
Don't give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Make them earn it.
And when he's trying kicking out of bounds, he kicks it 20 yards.
Or 7.
Or 7.
I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I for the life of me, I cannot understand it.
And Ross says, inside run isn't working, stop trying. We talked about that, Ross, too, is stretching the field. Again, when we stretch the field and we go outside tackles, we run the ball much better because the speed's there. And I think our guards pull well. They don't block straight up very well, but they pull. When we get our guys pulling, we got Jurgens pulling, we get our guards pulling, we get our tackles pulling, we get a wide receiver to come and crash an end and shut off the corner. I mean, those are the plays that are working. And
Maybe that's it. Maybe the guards aren't big enough to block up front. Maybe they're better at
pulling.
Better at pulling. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just something I picked up too. Aiden's playing better. He still takes too long to decide. So.
I mean, I do agree. He does. There's a few plays where he could have tucked it and ran for 10 yards, and he throws to an open wide receiver and overthrow it. I get it.
Yeah.
Punt the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
That's all I can say after that game yesterday.
Yeah, and again, Northwestern is probably the worst team next to Illinois in the Big Ten.
But guess what?
But
every time we play Northwestern is tough. And I said this before the game yesterday. It doesn't matter. Michigan State can be in the top 5 like they were when we beat them and they made it to the playoff. Every time we play Michigan State, it's a close game.
Yeah.
Every time we play Northwestern, it's a close game.
I sincerely hope that it's not a close game because this is probably the worst Northwestern team since we've been in the Big Ten. And they've had some bad teams. This is probably, if you watch them at all, this is probably their worst team. Purdue is not very good this year. I still feel comfortable.
They beat Illinois 13-9.
Yeah, I still feel comfortable beating Purdue. Again, like Ross said, he still feels 7-5. It's still very doable that we get to 6 wins. Minnesota lost to Bowling Green. Bowling Green.
At home.
Yeah. Ohio State has not shown up well defensively. They won pretty easily yesterday, but they have not shown up defensively. Michigan, I think, is probably going to be our toughest game left on the schedule.
And they won 20-13 at home
Yeah.
against Rutgers.
Iowa, I don't know what was the final score in the Iowa game. They struggled for a long time in that game.
24-14, and they won by 10.
Okay. So, again, Iowa's number 5 in the country, and they struggled yesterday. So, again,
It's always a tough game too.
I think every game down the stretch is going to be just as close as it should be.
You
And
know,
I think we just got to get over that hump and win.
I love you, Pops. My dad always has said, don't you want to watch a game that's close and fun to watch the whole game?
Yeah.
And I've always been like, no, I want us to win
Yeah.
61-7. You know.
Ross, I hope you're right that we beat him by at least 21. Blake mentions, Blake, you've been good. Sorry we got you in your feelings again today about the game and pissed you off, but
No, I didn't even want to talk about the game. I'm in my own feelings. I'm pissed.
Like I said, guess what? We always play to our competition level. And you can
You're
say that as
probably
well.
right.
I think a lot of teams do. I think it's pretty normal.
In college sports.
Not all teams, but there are a lot of teams that do. Again, when you got Iowa winning by 10 yesterday, you got Bowling Green beating Minnesota, something's not there. The Ohio State linebacker quitting, I did hear about that. You hear about that?
Yeah, I did want to talk about that.
So he basically just walked off middle of the game.
He tried to sub back in, and they
Someone shoot him off. Another
someone shoot him
linebacker.
off. Yeah, they shoot him off, and he bounced.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess that's the culture of the kids
Yeah.
these days.
And that defensive unit for Ohio State is struggling. They're not as good. So we'll see.
What I will say, just off my own term that I just used, the culture of the kids these days, Smothers. You said we talked about him. I do want to talk about him for a minute. When he came in the game, he did look pretty freaking good, and that gives me hope that we do have quarterbacks that can or will be decent. You know, in the past, backup quarterbacks that have come in for us have been absolute trash.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to say that about some of these kids, but they haven't been good.
Yeah.
And someone that can come in, and there's even people that are like, keep Smothers in. And it was early. Martinez only had one drive, really.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say at that point. I'm not saying if Smothers would have played the game, that we would have won.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that would not have happened. With the things that Adrian Martinez did in that game, that wouldn't have been the case. But I'm positive moving forward with, you know, a quarterback that can spin it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of upside to Smothers. He's fun to watch run. I see him being. We might even see more option running in the future with him.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, he's got speed. He's got decisiveness. There was one run where he got out behind the block. I think Premier Johnson got in front of him, and he ended up hitting the hole and got a pretty good run. And I think he's a good player.
I think he can throw the ball a little better than some of our past backups.
Yeah.
You know, he can run and throw a little better than, and you know, even I know Noah Vader was the starting quarterback for Rutgers, but when he came in, it was still just a little spotty.
Yeah.
I think Smothers looks a little better than that. So yeah, I'm a little hopeful with that. Am I saying that we shouldn't go after a transfer for quarterback? I think we probably should.
I think if Adrian stays another year,
And Adrian could still stay another year.
If he stays, I say no.
We'll see.
I say no because I think Smothers is ready. I think Harburg's going to be ready. Heinrich Harburg is who you're talking about, Ryan.
And he wasn't available. He didn't even make the trip.
Yeah.
He was a little dinged up or something.
Which
He
is
didn't make the
interesting.
trip because if they were at Masker in, my dad really wants to see Masker play, but he used to be on the sidelines for every game, and he's got a relationship with him, so he's like, I really want to see that kid play.
Jay Miller says, welcome to the show, Jay. Not sure if you've been watching the whole time. Martinez needs glasses. You overdose receivers. We've talked a lot about that today too. Again, you can take that for what it's worth. He still had it wasn't his best game throwing the ball, but he still played pretty good.
He was a lot better than a Michigan State quarterback. And Graham Mertz. Let's not even get into that.
Wisconsin just holy cow. Notre Dame ended up with 4 picks, 2 of them in the last couple minutes of the game. Were both pick sixes off of Graham Mertz again. Wisconsin, another game that we have on our schedule
that we should win.
That we should and can win. And Graham Mertz might not even be the quarterback by then.
He shouldn't be because he's freaking terrible.
Yeah. So
that was a great football game up until the last 12 minutes.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, both offenses were kind of stingy.
I mean a great football game because it was close, man.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, okay, I get the details, but no, I think the Big Ten's wide open right now. It really is. I mean, right now,
Penn State's got the leash.
Iowa's got the leash too. I mean, those two teams could be seeing each other in the Big Ten championship. Michigan, this could finally be the year that they beat Ohio State in a long time.
Come in.
We could also beat Michigan and or Ohio State. Anything can happen in the Big Ten this year. I think there is a lot of parity in college football. Clemson's got 2 losses.
Bama squeaked by Florida last week. There is much more parity than normal.
Yep.
And thank God Clemson. Has Clemson made the playoff every year?
Yes, I think so. So they're not going to this year.
See,
It's going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of the year. I think the Big Ten's wide open. There's a lot of opportunity for Nebraska amongst other teams. There's still opportunity for a lot of other teams, and we'll see what happens. Ross is confident. Again, I like a lot of the improvements I'm seeing, but we got to see it come full circle where it all clicks.
I would like a few of the improvements, week in and week out, but some of these games, these close ones, at some point, if you want to turn this program around, you have to figure out how to win.
Yeah.
And we haven't figured that out yet. So
100%.
That's a little discouraging, but we got to figure it out.
All right, guys.
All right.
I'm done. We got everything we needed to say today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
We're 2 Average Guys. Y'all enjoy your rest of your Sunday. Go watch some NFL. Watch your team. Hopefully they win.
Go Bucks.
Get a win on a Sunday.